The baseball world is still buzzing over Fernando Tatis Jr.'s mega extension with the Padres. And if you haven't heard, it's only a 14-year deal worth a mere $340 million. Best headline I've read since the news is Mets will still be paying Bobby Bonilla after Fernando Tatis Jr.'s 14-year deal ends. All jokes aside, he is worth every penny, at least projecting to be one of the premier shortstops in the game. Speaking of premier shortstops, these guys here must be loving what they see with this kind of deal, including Francisco Lindor. Corey, don't call me Kyle Seager. Trevor, I'm trying to tell you a story. Carlos Correa and Javi Baez. All right, let's bring in our front office insider, Jim Bowden. So, Jim, what is the impact of this Fernando Tatis Jr. deal, the extension here with the other shortstops that I just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a significant impact, no doubt about it. I mean, for Fernando Tatis, this was a club-friendly deal, believe it or not. He signs at today's value, market value, not the value that he's going to have 7 to 10 years from now. And he signed through age 35. That is significant because that does set a precedent for the contracts of the other shortstops. In other words, we don't want to pay the big money for the risk at age 36 to 40. So that's going to be helpful for the teams in the negotiations with the shortstops you're talking about. Now, the average annual value deal with Tatis is $24 million a year, but that includes all the arbitration years. So that's misleading. So instead, what you have to do is concentrate on the fact that the AAV after the arbitration years is north of 30, closer to 34 million. So the impact it has, the way I view it, is for players like Lindor and Trevor Story and Corey Seager, who are the 3 best shortstops that are going to come out of next year's class. They're going to be looking at deals that are going to be 8 to 10 years, and they're going to look at deals that are going to be between 28 and 32 million a year based on this contract.
All right, and loved it, by the way. Great insight and explanation, again, of the Tatis Jr. deal. But what about other position players and also ones that are of age like a Fernando Tatis Jr.? I'm talking about guys like Juan Soto, who's just 22 years old. How does this deal maybe impact them and the chances they may take something similar?
Yeah, that's a great point because Juan Soto is represented by Scott Boras. Juan Soto is the Ted Williams of this era, and he's just getting started here. And the one thing I can promise all of our viewers this morning, Juan Soto's deal will beat Fernando Tatis Jr.'s deal, regardless. He will beat $340 million. In fact, don't be surprised when Juan Soto gets his deal if he's not a $400 million player when that deal gets done. His agent will make sure he breaks records, and he will be north of both Mike Trout and Mookie Betts when that extension is finally done with Washington.
All right, we'll be looking out for that. More money than what Fernando Tatis Jr. just received. All right, a couple other things here. SNY reporting, Jim, the Mets have agreed to deal with Taijuan Walker. What more can you tell us in terms of the fit there in New York with that rotation?
This is significant because there's no doubt the Mets had to add innings at the back of their rotation. Look, it's going to be a tough year for all 30 teams trying to navigate through the innings after a truncated season. But knowing you're not going to get Noah Syndergaard back until the second half of the season, it was important they got another starter that could give them 5 innings. So when we talk about DeGrom being the ace, Carrasco, Stroman, Peterson, now you've got your 5th starter in Taijuan Walker. And I think the injury to Seth Lugo also expedited the negotiations here. But the Mets are doing a really good job of building up pitching depth for what's going to be a very difficult year for all the teams. So I think this is a big deal for them today, even though it's kind of under the radar and people are going to complain about the strikeout per 9 ratio. Taijuan Walker's got great makeup. He gets healthier every single year. He's got as big a hands as any pitcher in baseball right now. And I think he's got more upside than what we've seen.
Split time with Seattle and Toronto did Taijuan Walker, now headed to New York. Jim, what are you hearing about Jackie Bradley Jr.? Our colleagues, Will Middlebrook, shaking his head a little bit, wondering why he doesn't have a team yet. What's the latest on that front?
Well, the reason he doesn't have a team is his agent, Scott Boras, has been asking for well beyond what is due a player of Bradley's caliber. Now, we love the gold glove that he brings to the table. The bat, again, just mediocre here. And the asking price is so bad that the New York Mets are now out on Bradley. Unless the DH rule comes back, they do not plan on circling back to Bradley. That's why they went out and they signed Albert Almora Jr., trying to upgrade along with Kevin Pillar to get that defensive center field situation taken care of. So now Bradley does have the option of going back to Boston at Boston's price. Houston is still in the mix, although I think they're ready to give the job to Miles Straw. But this is the one free agent in this offseason that was just overpriced, and I think Jackie Bradley Jr. is going to pay a price for that.
All right, let's move on from the transactional news to more of a spring training outlook, which you've done for us here this week on HQ. Biggest breakout position players for this year, Jim. Give me a couple names.
I'll give you two right away, and they're going to be MVP candidates. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of Toronto. Can you believe Tommy Tran is still only 21 years old? He lost 30 pounds this offseason. This is the best shape we've seen Guerrero in really since he signed with the Blue Jays. And his bat speed is off the chart. You talk about his 94-mile-an-hour exit velocity, his hard hit rate of 42%. He's going to probably end up playing first base full time with Biggio moving over to third base. I'm expecting 30, 35 home runs from him. And let's go to Houston because Yordan Alvarez, I'm going to predict it right here, believe it or not, will be the best DH in the American League this year. When I say that means better than Nelson Cruz, who can do that, better than J.D. Martinez, better than Shohei Ohtani. I really believe this is Alvarez's year. This is a guy that's got a hard hit rate of almost 50%. The ball comes off his bat on an average of 92 miles an hour. I love the swing. You know what he reminds me of? A mix of Carlos Delgado, former Blue Jay, Dave Parker, as we know, the former Red and Pirate, and Clifford Floyd. Just an incredible swing, and when he learns to lift the ball, he'll end up being a 40 home run back. So Guerrero and Alvarez, I've got them as MVP candidates and serious breakout candidates.
I love the comp on Alvarez with all that you put together. And then for Vlad Guerrero, looking for a svelte Vlad Guerrero this year. All right, how about pitchers to look out for, Jim?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago when the Marlins traded Zach Gallen to Arizona for Jazz Chisholm, I sat there and scratched my head and told people someday Zach Gallen will be in the conversation and win a Cy Young Award. And everybody looked at me funny. But this is a pitcher that reminds me a lot of Greg Maddux. This guy can add, subtract, he has late movement, he can elevate, he can sink it, he uses both sides of the plate, goes north, south, east, west. I think you'll find that he'll end up top 5 Cy Young this year and break out. Let me give you one in the other league. Let's go to the American League for a minute. Framber Valdez. You better know that name. He's going to be one of the best left-handed starting pitchers in baseball in 2021. I was really impressed last year with his ability to reduce his walk rate from 5.6 in 2019 to just 2 this past year. He strikes out 9.7 per 9 innings, and this is a guy that throws the ball 93, 95. He's got the curveball, the changeup, all 3 pitches, knows how to pitch. He's coming into his own, and believe it or not, the ace of the Astros staff this year won't be Verlander. He's out with Tommy John surgery. Won't be Zach Greinke, whose age and decline is catching up. The ace of the Astros this year, the game 1 pitcher, if they make it to October, it's going to be Framber Valdez, Tommy Tran.
Jim, we're running out of time. Quickly, give me a contender with some big question marks in spring training.
Well, the Yankees have the biggest question mark because what is Kluber and Taillon? We don't know yet. We haven't seen them pitch. They're coming back from injuries. If they come into spring training and look like their old self, then all of a sudden the Yankees become the heavy favorites. If they come into spring training and they don't get outs and they're not the answer, then the Yankees have some work to do in the rotation. So that's the biggest question of all the contenders is what does Kluber and Taillon going to look like for the New York Yankees?
Our thanks to Jim Bowden, as always, with some quality baseball time. Jim, certainly appreciate it. And also check out the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast. The latest one has early spring training updates plus a mailbag. The guys, Chris and Scott, talking about Trevor Rosenthal to the A's. And, of course, we know Fernando Tatis Jr. is rich.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.